Hi friends. I'm here with you again, ready to share a new story, a calm and gentle tale, born from the heart of ancient myths and timeless legends. A story to listen to enjoy, to slow down with, and to fall asleep to. So, dim the lights, get comfortable, and let yourself drift into stillness as I begin. Before we start, if you'd like, I always enjoy hearing where you're listening from, and what time of day or night it is for you right now. And if you've listened to previous stories and found peace in them, I'd be so glad to have you subscribe, so we can keep traveling together through the dreams and legends still waiting to be told. Tonight we'll drift together into the heart of a legend from the East, a tale born in the warm winds of southern Iran. It's a story told by the moon itself, watching from above, over tall gentle palm trees and the soft golden sands along the beautiful shores of the Oman Sea. But before we dive into the story, take a deep breath, and let it out slowly. Wherever you are, let your body begin to soften, just a little more with each breath. The night is here, not loud or demanding, but calm and tender, wrapping you gently in its quiet embrace. Feel the gentle weight of night settling around you, like an ancient lullaby softly remembered. Everything around you is exactly as it should be. There is no rush, no hurry, just this moment. Are you ready? Then come. Step quietly with me into the stillness. Now, let the story begin to unfold gently like the tide coming in. I am the moon, and I have watched over this world for longer than memory can hold. Night after night, I rise from the horizon's edge, casting my silver light across the endless dance of waves below. The Persian Gulf stretches beneath me like a mirror of stars, its surface breathing with the rhythm of eternity. Tonight, as always, I begin my slow journey across the velvet sky. The air is warm here, carrying the scent of salt and jasmine from the distant shores. Palm trees stand like gentle sentinels along the coastline, their fronds whispering secrets to the night breeze. The water below me moves in long, slow swells, each wave catching fragments of my light and carrying them toward the shore. I have seen countless nights like this one. Fishermen returning with their nets heavy with silver catch. Children building castles in the sand that tomorrow's tide will reclaim. Lovers walking hand in hand along the water's edge, their footprints disappearing behind them like whispered promises. But tonight something calls to me from the shoreline. As I climb higher in my arc across the heavens, my light grows stronger, more focused. The waves below catch my radiance and transform it into liquid silver, rolling endlessly toward the beach. The sound is hypnotic, that ancient rhythm of water meeting sand, retreating, returning. It has sung the same song for millennia, and I have listened to every note. The coastal breeze carries new scents tonight. Frankincense from the mountains, the sweetness of dates ripening in distant groves, and something else. Something that makes me pause in my celestial dance. A melody, soft and clear, rises from the shoreline below. There, on the curve of sand where the waves kiss the land most gently, sits a figure. Even from my height, I can see her clearly, a young woman with hair that flows like dark water, her voice lifted in song. She sits facing the sea, her bare feet touched by the foam of each incoming wave. Her song is unlike anything I have heard in all my nights of watching. It rises and falls like the tide itself, carrying words in an ancient tongue that speaks of pearls hidden in deep waters, of winds that carry messages from distant lands, of stars that guide lost sailors home. The melody weaves between the sound of the waves, sometimes joining their rhythm, sometimes dancing apart from it. I find myself slowing my passage across the sky, lingering longer than I should in this part of my journey. The stars around me seem to lean closer, as if they too are drawn to this unexpected song. Venus, bright and knowing, winks at me from the western sky, but I pay her no mind. All my attention is focused on the figure below. The girl's voice carries a quality I have never encountered before. It is not the practiced performance of a trained singer, nor the casual humming of someone lost in thought. There is something deeper here, something that speaks of ancient connections between the sea and sky, between the human heart and the natural world. As she sings, small waves seem to gather closer to where she sits, as if the very ocean is drawn to her voice. Occasionally, she pauses in her song to dip her hands in the water, letting the liquid silver run between her fingers. In these moments of silence, I can hear the gentle lapping of waves, the distant call of a night bird, the whisper of wind through the palms. I want to call out to her, to let her know that she has an audience in the sky above. But what voice does the moon have that mortals can hear? I can only shine my light more gently, more warmly, hoping that somehow she will sense my presence, my appreciation for this gift she offers to the night. The hours pass, and still she sings. Her voice never wavers, never grows tired. Sometimes she sings in that ancient tongue, sometimes in wordless melodies that seem to come from the very depths of the sea. I begin to understand that this is not a performance, but a conversation. She is speaking with the ocean itself, sharing stories, listening to replies that only she can hear. When the horizon begins to show the first pale hints of dawn, she rises from her place on the sand. For a moment, she looks up at the sky, her eyes seeming to find mine among all the stars. Does she see me? Does she know that I have been listening? I pulse my light once, gently, like a nod of acknowledgement. She smiles, whether at me or at some private thought, I cannot tell. Then she turns and walks back toward the line of palms, her footprints joining the endless pattern of marks that the tide will soon erase. But her song continues to echo in my mind long after she has disappeared from view. As I complete my nightly journey and begin to fade with the coming dawn, I find myself already anticipating the next night. Will she return? Will she bring new songs, new stories to share with the sea? The thought fills me with a strange warmth, a feeling I have not experienced in all my eons of watching over this world. I am the moon, eternal and constant. But tonight I have discovered something new. Tonight, I have learned what it means to truly listen, to find wonder in the unexpected, to feel the stirring of something that might be called longing. The day begins, and I retreat to my hidden place beyond the horizon. But part of me remains here, waiting for the darkness to return, waiting for the chance to hear that voice again, to witness once more the mysterious conversation between a daughter of the sea and the ancient waters that gave her birth. Tonight cannot come soon enough. The day feels longer than any I have known. As I rest in my hidden realm beyond the horizon, I find my thoughts returning again and again to the shore where the girl sang. Will she come back? Was last night a single, perfect moment, or the beginning of something more? When evening finally arrives, I rise more eagerly than usual. The familiar rhythm of my ascent feels different now, purposeful, expectant. The stars seem to sense my anticipation, twinkling more brightly as I pass. Even the planets acknowledge my urgency. Jupiter nods approvingly as I quicken my pace across the darkening sky. Below me, the Persian Gulf spreads in all its evening splendor. The water has turned from day's blue to twilight's deep purple, and fishing boats to the horizon like floating lanterns. The air carries the evening prayers from distant minarets, their calls mixing with the eternal song of the waves. I approach the familiar curve of shoreline with something that might be nervousness. What if she does not come? What if last night was a dream, a trick of moonlight and wishful thinking? But there she is. The girl sits in the same spot where I first saw her, her figure silhouetted against the pale sand. My light finds her instantly. and she seems to glow with an inner radiance that has nothing to do with my beams. Tonight she wears a dress of deep blue that moves like water around her, and her hair is adorned with small shells that catch my light like tiny stars. She begins to sing, and I release a breath I didn't know I was holding. Her voice rises into the night air, different from yesterday's song but equally beautiful. Tonight her melody speaks of ships that sail to distant lands, of spices and silks traded in bustling markets, of love letters carried by the wind across vast distances. I settle into my position above her, no longer hurrying across the sky. This is where I belong now, here, listening, bearing witness to her nightly communion with the sea. The waves seem to respond to her voice, rolling in with slightly more enthusiasm, as if they too have been waiting for her return. As the night deepens, I begin to notice the small details that yesterday's wonder had obscured. The way she gestures with her hands as she sings, as if conducting an invisible orchestra. The way she sometimes pauses to listen to the sea's response, nodding as if understanding some secret message. The way she occasionally looks up at the sky, not quite at me, but in my direction. Does she sense my presence? The thought thrills me more than I expect. I try to pulse my light in rhythm with her song, to let her know that she is not alone in this vast night. Whether she notices or not, I cannot tell, but I continue anyway, finding joy in this simple attempt at connection. The hours pass in a dream of music and light. Her voice weaves through the sound of waves, sometimes joining their rhythm, sometimes setting her own pace. I learn that she has many songs, some joyful, some melancholy, some that seem to come from depths I cannot fathom. Each one is a gift, a moment of pure beauty offered to the listening night. When she finally rises to leave, I find myself disappointed. The night feels suddenly empty without her voice to fill it. But as she turns to go, she does something that makes my light flutter with excitement. She waves. It is a small gesture, barely more than a lifting of her hand, but it is directed upward, toward the sky, toward me. She knows. Somehow, she knows that I am here, that I am listening. The realization fills me with a warmth that spreads from my very core, casting softer, more golden light across the sleeping world. Night after night, she returns. And night after night, I wait for her, eager as a young lover, ancient as the tides. Each evening brings new songs, new stories, new moments of connection across the vast distance between sea and sky. I begin to notice patterns in her singing. On calm nights, when the water is still as glass, she sings gentle lullabies that seem to rock the very waves to sleep. On nights when the wind is strong and the waves are high, her voice rises to match their energy, becoming a powerful call that seems to tame the wildest waters. Sometimes she sings in languages I recognize, the Persian of ancient poets, the Arabic of desert wanderers, the Hindi of distant mountains. Other times her songs are wordless, pure melody that speaks directly to the soul. But always, always, there is that underlying conversation with the sea, that sense of belonging that makes my heart ache with longing. I find myself changing my own patterns to match hers. I rise earlier to catch the first notes of her evening song. I linger longer in the morning sky, reluctant to leave while she is still there. The other celestial bodies begin to tease me about my new routine, but I don't care. This is where I belong now, here, in this perfect circle of music and light and endless, patient love. On the seventh night, something wonderful happens. As I reach the peak of my arc across the sky, she pauses in her song and looks directly up at me. Our eyes meet across the vast distance, and for a moment, time seems to stop. She smiles, and I pulse my light in response, a gentle greeting that she seems to understand. "Hello," she says softly, her voice carrying clearly in the still night air. "I wondered when you would finally make yourself known." I am so surprised that I nearly forget to maintain my position in the sky. She has been aware of me all along, has been singing not just to the sea, but to me as well. The knowledge fills me with such joy that I have to dim my light slightly to keep from overwhelming her with brightness. I have been listening, I want to tell her, but I have no voice that she can hear. Instead, I create patterns in my light, gentle pulses that I hope convey my appreciation, my wonder, my growing affection. She nods as if she understands. "I know," she says simply. "I can feel your presence." It makes the songs more beautiful, knowing that someone is listening. From that night forward, our connection deepens. She still sings to the sea, still maintains her mysterious conversation with the waves, but now she also sings to me. Sometimes she will gesture toward the sky as she sings, including me in her stories of distant lands and ancient loves. Sometimes she will pause and look up, as if waiting for my response, and I will pulse my light in acknowledgement. We develop a language of sorts, her songs, my light, the eternal rhythm of the waves below. It is not the love of poets and ballads, with its demands and passions and possessions. It is something gentler, more patient, more profound. It is the love of witness, of appreciation, of two souls finding harmony across an impossible distance. I am the moon, and I have found my purpose. Not just to light the night sky, not just to guide the tides, but to listen, to be present, to love without needing, to cherish without claiming, to find perfect contentment in simply being here, in this moment, under these stars, listening to the most beautiful voice in all the world. The nights pass like prayers, each one a blessing, each one a gift, and I am grateful for them all. In the quiet hours before dawn, when the girl has returned to whatever hidden place she calls home, I find myself creating dreams for her. It is a strange thing, this capacity for imagination that has awakened in me. For eons I have been content to simply observe, to light the way for others' dreams. But now, inspired by her songs and her presence, I discover that I too can dream. I dream of gifts I would give her if I could. Not treasures of gold or jewels, but things made of moonlight and starshine, gifts that only I could offer. I imagine weaving her a cloak from the aurora borealis, something that would shimmer with all the colors of the northern lights. I picture crafting her a crown from the rings of Saturn, delicate and beautiful, worthy of one who sings to the sea. But these are impossible dreams, the fantasies of a celestial being who has forgotten the boundaries between heaven and earth. Instead, I content myself with smaller gifts, things that are within my power to give. When she arrives each night, I make sure my light falls perfectly across her favorite spot on the beach. I arrange my beams to create a natural spotlight, warm and golden, that makes her hair shine like dark water and her skin glow with inner radiance. Sometimes I reflect my light off the waves in patterns that dance around her feet, creating a carpet of liquid silver that moves with her songs. On nights when clouds drift across the sky, I play with them, shaping them into forms that might please her. A ship sailing across the star-filled heavens, a whale breaching in the celestial ocean, a garden of flowers blooming in the midnight sky. I don't know if she notices these aerial sculptures, but I create them anyway, hopeful that they might bring her joy. The stars have begun to help me. They have watched our nightly encounters with growing interest, and now they actively participate in the silent courtship. When she sings of journeys to distant lands, they arrange themselves into the constellations that would guide such travels. When she speaks of loved ones far away, they pulse in rhythm with her words, as if sending messages across the vast distances of space. Venus, brightest and most romantic of all the celestial bodies, has become my closest confidant. She often lingers near the horizon during the girls' performances, adding her own soft light to the scene. "You are falling in love," she whispers to me across the cosmic void, and I cannot deny it. But it is not the desperate, consuming love of earthbound mortals. It is something purer, more patient, more eternal. I am falling in love with the act of loving itself, with the privilege of witnessing beauty, with the joy of being present for someone else's happiness. I ask for nothing in return, expect nothing, demand nothing. I simply am, and in my being, I love. The girl seems to sense the changes in me. Sometimes, between songs, she will look up and smile, as if she can see the dreams I am weaving around her. Once, on a particularly clear night, she stood and performed a dance that seemed choreographed to match the patterns of my light on the water. We moved together, she and I, in perfect harmony, creating something beautiful that existed only in that moment and would never be repeated. I begin to understand that this is enough. This gentle exchange of presence, this mutual appreciation of beauty, this love that asks nothing and gives everything. The poets speak of lovers who would move heaven and earth for each other. But what they don't understand is that sometimes the greatest love is in not moving at all. In simply being present, being witness, being grateful. The girls' songs begin to change as well. Where once they were conversations with the sea, now they seem to include the entire universe. She sings to the stars, to the wind, to the vast mystery of existence itself. And always, always, there is the undertone of acknowledgement, the sense that she knows she is not alone in the darkness. One night, she sings a song that seems to be about me. The words are in her ancient tongue, but somehow I understand them. She sings of a guardian in the sky, a watcher who brings light to the darkness, a presence that asks nothing but gives everything. She sings of the loneliness of the celestial spheres, and the joy of unexpected connection. "You are so far away," she sings, her voice carrying clearly in the still night air. "Yet you feel closer than my own heartbeat. How is it possible to love someone you can never touch?" The question hangs in the air between us, beautiful and unanswerable. I pulse my light gently, the only response I can give. Yes, I want to tell her. Yes, it is possible. Yes, this is love, this patient watching, this grateful witnessing, this joy in the simple fact of your existence. She nods, as if she hears my silent answer. "I know," she whispers. "I feel it too." We continue our nightly encounters, she and I, building something precious and fragile and eternal. I learn the rhythm of her breathing, the way she tilts her head when she's listening for the sea's response, the gesture she makes when she's reaching for a particularly high note. These small details become treasures to me, moments of perfect observation that I store away like a miser hoarding gold. I also begin to notice things about myself that I had never paid attention to before. The way my light changes color subtly throughout the night, growing warmer as I approach the horizon. The way I instinctively brighten when she arrives, dimming again when she leaves. The way I find myself creating new patterns in my beams, unconscious attempts to communicate, to reach across the vast distance between us. Other creatures seem to sense the magic of our connection. Dolphins play in the waves during her performances, their sleek bodies cutting through the moonlit water in graceful arcs. Seabirds circle overhead, their cries adding harmony to her songs. Even the palm trees seem to lean closer, as if trying to hear better. But it is the sea itself that responds most strongly to our nightly ritual. The waves seem to time their rhythm to her voice, creating a natural percussion that enhances every song. Sometimes, on particularly still nights, the water becomes so smooth that it perfectly mirrors the sky, creating the illusion that she is singing to a twin moon below the waves. I find myself looking forward to these nights with an intensity that surprises me. The hours of daylight drag by slowly, filled with the mundane business of sleeping and preparing for the next evening's rise. But when darkness falls and I begin my ascent into the star-filled sky, I feel a joy that is both new and ancient, as if I am remembering something I had forgotten long ago. This is what I was meant for, I realize. Not just to light the night sky, but to love, to witness, to be present for beauty in all its forms. The girl has awakened something in me that I didn't know existed, something that makes me more than just a celestial body following its prescribed path through the heavens. I am the moon, and I have learned to dream. And in dreaming, I have discovered the deepest truth of all, that love is not about possession or proximity, but about appreciation and presence. That the greatest gift we can give to another is simply to be there, to witness their beauty, to celebrate their existence. The nights continue, each one a prayer, each one a gift, and I am grateful for them all. Something is changing in the celestial dance between us. Night after night, I find myself descending lower in the sky, drawn by an invisible force I cannot name. The other stars notice my altered path and whisper among themselves, but I pay them no mind. All my attention is focused on the growing sense of connection that seems to pull me earthward. Tonight, as I rise from the horizon, I feel the change more strongly than ever. The girl is already waiting on the beach, but something is different about her too. She sits closer to the water's edge than usual, her feet buried in the wet sand where the waves can reach them. Her hair flows loose around her shoulders, and she wears a dress of pearl white that seems to glow with its own inner light. When she begins to sing, her voice carries a new quality, more intimate, more personal. Where before her songs had been conversations with the sea, tonight they feel like secrets shared between lovers. I lower myself further in the sky, my light growing more focused, more intense. The beam that falls on her is warm and golden, creating a circle of radiance that seems to separate her from the rest of the world. "You're closer tonight," she says suddenly, pausing in her song to look up at me. Her eyes seem to find mine across the vast distance, and I feel a jolt of connection that makes my light flicker. "I can feel you more clearly. I am closer." Without conscious thought, I have adjusted my orbit, breaking the pattern I have followed for millennia. The realization should frighten me, but instead it fills me with a strange joy. I am changing, evolving, becoming something new. For her. She resumes her singing, and I continue my descent. The lower I go, the more clearly I can see her. Every detail becomes sharp and precise, the way the sea breeze moves her hair, the small shells braided into her dress, the way her fingers trace patterns in the sand as she sings. She is even more beautiful than I had imagined, more real, more present. My light begins to behave strangely as I draw closer. Instead of the steady, predictable glow I have maintained for eons, it starts to pulse and shimmer, creating patterns that seem to dance in time with her voice. The sea below reflects these changes, turning the water into a constantly shifting canvas of light and shadow. "Do you know," she says during a pause in her song, "that I dream of you during the day?" The words hit me like a physical force. She dreams of me. This beautiful, mysterious creature who could have the love of any mortal man, who could sing her songs to anyone, dreams of me. I pulse my light more brightly, unable to contain the joy that floods through me. "I dream of conversations we might have," she continues, her voice soft and thoughtful. "Of the stories you would tell me about the things you've seen in your travels across the sky. Of the secrets you've learned from watching the world for so long." I want to tell her everything. I want to share the centuries of observations, the small dramas and great loves I have witnessed, the way the earth changes season by season, year by year. I want to describe the other lands I have illuminated, the other shores where I have cast my light. But most of all, I want to tell her that in all my eons of watching, I have never seen anything as beautiful as her. Instead, I can only respond with light. I create patterns in my beams, swirling spirals that seem to tell wordless stories. I reflect off the waves in ways that paint pictures on the water, ships sailing distant seas, mountains reaching toward the sky, flowers blooming in moonlit gardens. She watches these light paintings with wonder, sometimes laughing softly at the images I create. "You're trying to tell me stories," she realizes, her voice filled with delight. "You're showing me the world through your eyes." Yes, I pulse my light urgently. Yes, that's exactly what I'm doing. I'm sharing my vision with you, the only way I know how. She stands then, and begins to move along the shoreline, her feet splashing in the shallow water. I adjust my light to follow her, creating a path of silver that moves with her steps. We are dancing together, she and I, in the most impossible of partnerships, earthbound and celestial, mortal and eternal, yet somehow perfectly matched. "I wish I could touch you," she says as she moves, her voice carrying a note of longing that makes my light tremble. "I wish I could feel your light the way I feel the warmth of the sun." The words pierce me with their gentle sadness. I too wish for the impossible, to feel her hand in mine, to hear her voice not just as sound waves traveling through the atmosphere, but as vibrations against my ear. To experience the warmth of her presence as more than just the heat signature I can detect from space. But even as I long for these impossibilities, I find myself grateful for what we do have. This connection across the void, this love that exists purely in the realm of spirit and light. It is unlike anything I have ever known, and perhaps it is more precious because of its very impossibility. I lower myself further still, until I am barely above the horizon. At this angle, my light falls on her almost horizontally, creating dramatic shadows and highlights that make her appear otherworldly. She seems to glow from within, a creature of starlight and sea foam, perfect and untouchable. "You're so close now," she whispers, and I can hear the wonder in her voice. "I feel like I could almost reach out and touch you." She extends her hand toward me, and for a moment, I imagine that I can feel her fingers brushing against my light. It is impossible, of course. The distance between us is still vast, unbridgeable. But in that moment, suspended between earth and sky, I feel closer to her than I have ever felt to any living thing. The night deepens around us, and still we maintain our strange dance. She moves along the shore, and I follow her path with my light. She sings, and I respond with patterns of brightness and shadow. We are creating something together, a moment of perfect harmony that exists only for us, only in this place, only in this time. Other creatures seem drawn to our connection. Night-blooming flowers open their petals in my enhanced light. Fish swim closer to the shore, their scales catching and reflecting my beams. Even the stars seem to lean closer, as if they too want to witness this impossible love story. "I understand now," she says as the night begins to wane. "This is what love is meant to be, isn't it? Not possession, not need, but simply appreciation, presence, the joy of existing in the same universe as someone beautiful." Her words crystallize something I have been feeling but could not articulate. Yes, this is love in its purest form. Love without the complications of physical desire, without the demands of earthly relationships. Love that exists simply because it must, because the alternative, a universe without this connection, is unthinkable. As dawn approaches, I begin my reluctant retreat toward the horizon. But tonight, something has changed permanently. The distance between us feels smaller now, the connection stronger. I have learned that love is not about the space between two beings, but about the light that bridges that space. She waves goodbye as I fade with the coming dawn, and I pulse my light one final time in response. Tomorrow night, I will return. Tomorrow night, we will continue our impossible dance, our love story written in light and song across the vast canvas of the sky. I am the moon, and I have learned to love not just with my light, but with my entire being. And in loving, I have discovered that distance is meaningless when two souls are truly connected. The day begins, but I am already counting the hours until I can return to her. The pattern of our nights has become as reliable as the tides, as predictable as my own orbit around the earth. For weeks now, she has come to the shore each evening, and I have descended to meet her with my light. We have created a rhythm between us, a dance of presence and appreciation that has become the center of my existence. But tonight, as I rise from the horizon with my usual eager anticipation, the beach is empty. I wait, casting my light across the familiar stretch of sand where she always sits. The waves continue their eternal conversation with the shore, but there is no voice to join them tonight. No figure in flowing fabric, no hands gesturing gracefully as songs fill the air. Just the empty beach, peaceful and beautiful but somehow incomplete without her presence. Perhaps she is simply late. Mortals have their own rhythms, their own concerns that sometimes interrupt the patterns of the night. I settle into my position above the shore and wait, patient as I have learned to be, grateful as I have learned to be for whatever time we might have. The hours pass. The sea continues its ancient dance, the palm trees whisper their secrets to the breeze, the stars maintain their silent vigil overhead. But she does not come. I find myself searching the shoreline more carefully, wondering if she has perhaps chosen a different spot tonight. My light sweeps along the coast, illuminating empty stretches of sand, fishing boats pulled up beyond the tide line, the occasional night bird picking its way through the shallows. But nowhere do I see the familiar figure that has become so precious to me. A strange feeling settles over me as the night deepens, something I have never experienced before. Is this what mortals call loneliness? This hollow ache, this sense that something essential is missing from the world? I have been alone for eons, but I have never felt alone until now. Her absence makes me realize how much her presence had become part of me. Still, I continue to wait. I adjust my light to fall perfectly on her favorite spot, creating the warm golden circle where she always sits. If she comes, even late, I want everything to be ready for her. I want her to know that I am here, that I have been here, that I will always be here. The second night passes the same way, and the third, and the fourth. Each evening, I rise with hope and descend with resignation. Each night, I maintain my vigil over the empty beach, casting my light on vacant sand, listening to the sea's monologue instead of the dialogue I had grown to cherish. The other stars begin to whisper among themselves, wondering at my strange behavior, but I ignore them. Hope is a new emotion for me, and I find it difficult to abandon. On the seventh night, as I take my position above the silent shore, I allow myself to consider the possibilities. Perhaps she has traveled to distant lands, following the ancient trade routes her songs often described. Perhaps she has found a new place to sing, a different stretch of coastline that calls to her restless spirit. Perhaps she has simply grown tired of the nightly ritual, moved on to other interests, other passions. Or perhaps, and this thought comes to me with surprising pain, perhaps she has found someone else to sing to. Someone who can respond with more than light, someone who can hold her hand and hear her voice up close, someone who can exist in the same realm of flesh and breath and beating hearts. The thought should make me happy, I know. If she has found earthly love, if she has discovered the joy of connection with her own kind, then she has found something I could never give her. But the knowledge brings me no comfort. Instead, it fills me with a melancholy I didn't know I was capable of feeling. Yet as the nights continue to pass in solitude, I begin to understand something profound about the nature of love itself. True love, I realize, is not conditional upon reciprocation. It does not diminish when the beloved is absent. It does not demand anything in return for its existence. I love her not because she sings to me, but because she exists. I love her not because she fills my nights with beauty, but because she is beautiful. And that love does not lessen simply because she is no longer here. If anything, it grows stronger, purer, more refined by the absence of expectation. So I continue to rise each night, and I continue to cast my light on the empty beach. Not because I expect her to return, but because this is what love does. It shows up. It remains present. It maintains its vigil even when there is no one to witness it. The waves seem to understand my new role. They continue their eternal rhythm, but now they seem to be singing for both of us, for the girl who is no longer here, and for the moon who refuses to abandon his post. Sometimes, in the space between one wave and the next, I almost hear her voice carried on the breeze. But it is only memory, only the echo of something precious that once was. I begin to find a different kind of peace in these solitary nights. The love I feel for her has become something independent of her presence, something that exists purely for its own sake. I love her when she is here, and I love her when she is absent. I love her voice, and I love the silence that her absence creates. I love the memory of our impossible connection, and I love the hope that somewhere in the world, she is happy. Weeks pass, then months. The seasons begin to change, and still I maintain my nightly vigil. Other creatures notice my consistency. The dolphins that used to play in the waves during her performances now swim by occasionally, as if checking on me. The seabirds that once circled overhead during her songs now rest on the water nearby, keeping me company in my solitude. One night, as I cast my light on the familiar empty beach, I realize that I am no longer waiting for her to return. I am simply being present, being grateful, being love itself. The ache of missing her has transformed into something else, a warm appreciation for the gift she gave me, the awakening she brought to my existence. She taught me that love is not about possession or proximity. She showed me that the greatest gift we can give to another is simply to witness their beauty, to appreciate their existence, to be present for their joy. And now, in her absence, I am learning the deepest lesson of all, that love continues even when the beloved is gone, that presence continues even in absence, that gratitude continues even when there is nothing new to be grateful for. I am the moon, and I have learned to love without conditions, without expectations, without demands. Even if she never returns to this beach, even if she never sings again, I will continue to rise each night and cast my light on these waters. Because this is what love does. It endures. It remains. It continues to shine even in the darkness. The sea continues its ancient song, and I continue to listen. The stars continue their silent dance, and I continue to join them. The world continues its endless rotation, and I continue to light its way. And somewhere in the vastness of existence, she continues to be, and I continue to love her. Even if she never sings again, I will still rise. I will still listen. I will still love. The night deepens around me, and I am content. I am presence itself, appreciation itself, love itself. And that is enough. That is everything. That is eternal. The waves whisper their ancient secrets to the listening night. And I, the moon, continue my eternal dance across the star-filled sky. My light falls, soft and silver, on the empty beach, where once she sang. But empty does not mean forgotten. Silence does not mean absence. For in the space between the waves, I still hear the echo of her voice. In the shimmer of starlight on water, I still see the memory of her dancing. And in the vast, eternal, peaceful darkness, I still feel the warmth of her presence. She exists somewhere in this beautiful, mysterious world. And I exist here, in my celestial sphere. And between us flows the invisible, golden thread of love. Love that asks nothing. Love that gives everything. Love that simply is. The night grows deeper, quieter, more peaceful. My light grows softer, gentler, more golden. The sea breathes in rhythm with eternity. And I, the moon, continue to rise, and set, and rise again. Faithful as the tides. Constant as the stars. Eternal as love itself. Even if she never sings again, I will still rise. Even if she never returns, I will still shine. Even if she never knows, I will still love. For this is what love truly is. Presence without expectation. Light without demand. Being without need. The night embraces all things. The stars watch over all dreams. The sea carries all songs to distant shores. And I, the moon, carry this love across the endless sky. Forever, and ever, and ever. Our story has come to an end. Now, you're in a place where there are no questions, no movements, only sleep. If you can still hear my voice, you're standing at the threshold. Let the waves carry you to peaceful dreams. Let the stars watch over your rest. Let the night embrace you with gentle darkness. And know that somewhere, in the vast and beautiful cosmos, love continues. Light continues. Beauty continues. Good night, and the gentlest dreams.